Hello, and thank you so much for being here with us today. I am Arlena Jones, and you are watching the Intervene Show. I have two very, very wonderful and special guests. I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves. We'll start to my immediate left and let him introduce himself and what it is that he's doing in the community, because I won't do it justice. Your title is too long, and I can't say such big words.
I do not have a big title. I am Sidney Ellis. I am currently the Director of Mission Advancement at the YMCA of Greater Kalamazoo. We do run the Kalamazoo Y on Maple Street and the Center Street Y that's in Portage, and so that's under the same umbrella. And so what I do is fundraising. I do fundraising to raise money for low-income families who cannot access the Y, whether it's through programming or membership, so that they can live a healthy life. Now, this long title and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, Sid the Rock.
Yeah, most people know me. Well, a lot of people know me for various different things. People know me from Christian Life Center, that's now called Stone's Church. People know me from the Black Arts and Cultural Center. People know me from the Kalamazoo Civic Theater when I was with the Civic Black Players, and from the Black Arts and Cultural Center when I was the Director of the Black Arts and Cultural Center, and when I was a volunteer of the Black Arts and Cultural Center. People know me as Dr. Martin Luther King playing opposite Malcolm X with Mr. Buddy Hanna over here. Who can take over from now?
Well, sort of like Sid, my name is Buddy Hanna. I'm sort of like Sid, you know, but I think people know me mostly from the radio station, my show that ran on there, Talk It Up. You know, but now I'm retired from that, so to speak. Still do a few things in the community, but I also do acting, and now I'm more focused into acting, playwriting, and directing. So wore a lot of hats, like Sid said, and just now trying to do some things on stage that really things that I enjoy doing, but there's no pressure to do it if I don't want to do it because I'm retired.
It's nice to actually have a face behind the voice, you know, because you know, radio.
Right, right. That's right. That's right.
He's the best looking guy on radio.
Oh, yeah.
He used to.
Well, you know, when I was getting ready to do this, I said, well, you know, I got to look good now because this is not radio. It's radio. We were doing it in our pajamas, you know. But yes. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you, thank you. I don't know which way to start. You know, who wants to tell me their story first and how you kind of got into the industries that you are both in?
Well, the interesting thing for me is that I kind of stumbled upon it. It was more organic. What I did was actually, when I was in college, me and some of my college buddies and fraternity brothers would just sit around, talk, and create these drama skits or movie skits or things like. We'd come up with ideas to talk about. What if you did this and what if you did that? But we didn't ever do anything with it. We just talked about it. And so when I started going to Christian Life Center, Pastor Joe Brooks told me, if you don't write it down, it'll never happen. And so that's really how I started. I started writing things down, and I got involved with the Community Access Center, which is now Public Media Network, like yourself, and I got involved with the Kalamazoo Civic Theater under the Black Civic Players, and started producing myself, started writing, directing, and I started doing storytelling, puppetry, acting, and it just sort of snowballed after that. But it actually started because Pastor Brooks told me, if you don't write it down, it'll never happen. And I started writing it down, and things started happening.
I remember you when I was young at the Boys and Girls Club, and you were helping us do plays and teaching us puppetry, and we did puppetry mime. And it showed me so many varieties of what theater can be and what it can look like. And I didn't necessarily pursue that, but the knowledge that I gained working behind the cameras, in front of the camera, well, we didn't have cameras, but behind the stage and in front of stage and lighting, audio, sound, and all that was definitely a learning experience, and you definitely mentored me in realizing that I have a voice and how to use it and how to be creative with it.
That's great, and that's always been one of my goals, is to assist people, especially young people, in propelling their creativity. I mean, there's so much potential out here in Kalamazoo especially, that people have opportunities to express themselves creatively, and it's still going on. So, you know, as you said, I did that to help you out at that particular time. And, you know, as Buddy and I, and even you were talking earlier, you forget about some of those things that you've done along the way. You don't necessarily forget the faces, but sometimes you forget names and situations based on what you've been doing. So I did teach storytelling, puppetry, acting, video production, a lot of those types of different things, and mentored many students in this last 30 years that I've been here, over 30 years here in the Kalamazoo area. And so all of those things sort of helped me mold into who I am now. Running into Buddy Hanna, we didn't know each other, and they needed two people to act in a play, and it was really just that. They needed two people. They asked me. I didn't know anything about it. They said, hey, why don't you come and audition for this piece? Went over there to audition. I meet Buddy Hanna. 30 years later, we're still best of friends.
I even remember you when you were at the Black Arts and Culture Center over on the north side.
Wow, okay. That was a while ago, yeah.
And how much it's evolved, you know, kind of the transition of the Black Arts and Culture Center to what we have as today.
Yep. Yeah, the Black Arts and Culture Center has come a long way. Citizens of Kalamazoo and the city of Kalamazoo came together to put together the first Black Arts Festival, and from that grew our Black Arts and Cultural Center. And the Black Arts and Cultural Center has helped the careers of hundreds of people. I would not be where I am right now if it wasn't for the Black Arts and Cultural Center. So even you're remembering that we were on the north side of Kalamazoo. I mean, those buildings that we were in, the structures and things like that, it's phenomenal that actually we had the opportunity, to even be in those spaces, and to now be where we are and where the Black Arts and Cultural Center is here in the Epic Center. That evolution has been pretty miraculous.
Well, you know, with me, I sort of like Sid. I think it was a lot of things that I've done based on opportunity. Opportunity was there. I was fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of it, you know. Everybody, like we say, stand on the shoulders of other people, and everybody has had somebody give them an opportunity. I kind of started out before the community thing, DJing. I have to give credit to Fred Jones, who used to be, who had Mr. President. That was my opportunity to do that. I did that for a long time. And then when I met Gail Sidney, and they had recently started the Black Arts and Culture Center. And I met her, and she was very instrumental in getting me involved in community stuff. Also, Mr. Charles Parker, because I got involved in the community service through, he was doing the YBL program. And then, like Sid said, I met Sid. It was one of those things. I had actually seen the play, the meeting on TV. And I liked it. I thought but I had never been on stage, and I thought wow, I really like this play. This is good. I was just fascinated by it because I was fascinated by Malcolm X. As fate would have it, I got the same call to see a guy like Linda Tanksley, Linda Louise Tanksley, we want to say that, called and asked would have come down and audition for this play. And now what Sid didn't tell you is that, Sid had been acting before, and he had been doing a real good job of acting. I had seen him.
I had not done that many plays.
But I had seen Sid in some production. Okay. So when I got there and I saw who they wanted me to audition with, I'm going like, I don't know if this is going to be the right thing, because this man can act, you know. But as it turned out, we had this combination of some kind of chemistry. And the rest is history, like you say. So we've been friends for over 30 years. We've done so many things. The BACC, we've been involved. Sid has been the director. I've been the director. When I was the director, he was my board president. When he was the director, I was his board president. Our lives have just been connected in the arts and in the community throughout. So, and it has been wonderful. And a lot of people give you opportunities, and you just take advantage. I got on the radio to do Talk It Up. Gene Bowen, another opportunity came. He said, hey, I got a spot. How would you like to do some kind of social commentary? Didn't really know what to do. We started out doing it, and I did that for 19 years, but it all started with Gene Bowen giving me that opportunity to do it. And then T-Rob came along and said, hey, how would you like to do a live version on radio you know, every Saturday. So we did that, and you know, so it's been nice to have these opportunities. That's what I tell young people. You never know when opportunity is gonna come. You should try to just be ready to take advantage of them. Fortunately, I was, and hey, I guess it worked out good. Yeah, the rest is history, so it worked out good.
But you're also a writer. Can you talk about how that has, you know, played into your life and what it is?
Yeah, you know, I used to have this dream. It was kind of weird because I had this dream of being an investigative newspaper reporter. Okay. But I was also writing poetry, which Gail Sidney encouraged me to do, and Elizabeth Kurlikowski, I have to give her credit. I was writing poetry, but I was taking this journalism class at Western, and I wanted to be a journalist, and but I was doing this poetry thing. Well, I met Arlena McMichaels, yeah, Arlena McMichaels. She was working for the Kalamazoo Gazette. And she said, hey, how would you like to write a column for the Gazette, you know? And I go like, hey, yeah. Well, it's not a reporter. I wasn't doing investigative reporting, but I did. And that lasted for 5 years. So that turned into another opportunity. And then I have to give credit to Vaughn Washington Sr., him and his wife, Fran. I began to work with them in terms of acting and being on stage. They was very instrumental in that. And eventually, just watching Vaughn, I never took any of his classes officially at Western, but I learned from him just by watching him, and began to just kind of write little skits and do little things. And I think I wrote a little piece, and quite naturally, I had to get my boy Sid to be in it. But that's where I began to get into the playwriting thing. The poetry was always there, the newspaper writing thing, and then I was writing my script for Talk It Up. I did that myself, so, you know, that's how all that evolved, and everything just came together, you know. I don't know, in another life that may not happen that way, but it happened this time, and I'm glad of it.
Talk It Up was very, very interesting. You know, how did you get your topics? Like, where was your inspiration when you were kind of coming up with some of those?
A lot of it was just life itself, you know, drawing from things that was happening in the community. A lot of the thoughts that I was throwing out, I got from my grandmother. My grandmother raised me, and other older people. I grew up around older people, so I would listen to the elders, so it pays to listen to our elders. But just life itself, looking at what's happening on TV, reading the newspaper. I've always been a big reader. I love to read. So, you know, and then just talking with people. You know, you can talk with people or just listening to people, because you listen to them, you learn a lot sometimes just by listening. So a lot of that was coming from talking with people, listening to people, watching people, and then just being aware of what's going on in the community and being able to, I think like we was talking about, you trying to do some things to make people aware, using the platform that you have to do that. And that's what I began to do, to say, hey, I got a platform here. Now I can speak on some issues that need to be. I didn't do anything that a lot of other people probably couldn't have done. It's just that I had the avenue and they didn't. That's what set me apart from them. It really wasn't that I was so smart or anything. It's just that I was lucky enough to have an avenue to do it, and I used it.
Yeah, but you had to take the initiative to do it.
That's true.
Because the avenue was there. We've talked about how there are opportunities here and around the city of Kalamazoo. Let's take, for example, now here at the Public Media Network. Now you're here producing your own program, so you've taken the initiative to do it. And a lot of times, well, I'm going to say most of the time, people have ideas and things that they want to do, or they have suggestions to do things, but they don't take the initiative to do it. And that doesn't make Buddy, you, or anybody, or myself better than anybody else, but it probably means that we're more passionate about it. And if you're more passionate about it, the more passionate you are about something, the more you will take the steps to get involved and do it. There's a lot of people who will volunteer to help you do things that's in the community. And so they may not be passionate enough to be the director of it or the producer of it, but they're passionate enough to say, hey, I can help you in doing whatever you want me to do, whether it's being behind the camera, whether it's putting chairs out, whether it's setting something up. You know, and that's the great thing about the Kalamazoo area is that throughout these 30-odd years or more that I've been here and everything that I've done, I've always had people to assist me and to help me. So I couldn't do things by myself. And there's actually been a plethora of people who say, okay, yeah, I'll help you in some way. You know, what can I do to help you? And so that's the great thing about the city that we live in and the people that we're surrounded in is that there are people who, like I said, even they may not be as passionate about the specific thing that you are, but they're passionate enough to help you get it done.
And I think Sid is right about people helping you. The one important thing is that if people see that you're serious about what you're trying to do, if they see you're serious, you're willing to learn, you're willing to commit, you're willing to put in the effort, then there are people because nobody do all of these things by themselves, you know. There was no way I could have done Talk It Up by myself. You know, T-Rod was constantly there, Angela Anderson, Magic D, even Howard and Robin sometimes when everybody else was on vacation and I needed somebody to run the board for me to do the technical end, Howard and Robin would come in. So you always got help behind you, you know, and when you can surround yourself with good people and you be committed to what you're trying to do, then good things will happen.
What's next? You know, what do you see next? What's the next step from where we are? 'Cause we've come a long way. You guys have done it 30 years. You're trying to retire. I don't know what you're trying to do, Sid. You just reinvented yourself all over again in a whole new position. So what's next? What does Kalamazoo have to look forward to? Where is the growth opportunities do you all see in building the arts, maintaining the arts, and growing the arts?
Well, for me, I can definitely say that the Black Arts and Cultural Center is definitely another avenue that people can utilize. They're consistently having the monthly art hop or part of the monthly art hop, and so they have a gallery where people who have fine arts can express themselves that way. So anyone who is involved in fine arts in any way, they should contact the Black Arts and Cultural Center and or contact also the Arts Council of Greater Kalamazoo. Because the other thing is that you don't want to restrict yourself as an African American just to African American organizations. So there are many organizations here in town other than the Black Arts and Cultural Center for you to also get involved in. Here's the Public Media Network. This is a great avenue for people to express themselves. So artistically, there's a lot of different avenues. We spoke earlier off camera about the opportunities in social media, whether it's on the website, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, those types of things. And so there's a lot of opportunities out there for people to take advantage of their creativity and utilize their creativity. They just have to do it. Whether it's a elementary, middle, or high school student or an adult, I believe that Kalamazoo has a lot to offer in terms of artistically. Right now, I've been producing radio theater through All Ears Theater here in Kalamazoo. Started out working with Von Washington, as Buddy mentioned him earlier, acting in one of his 30-minute All Ear Theater productions, which is just basically radio theater. And then eventually I was able to direct one myself and work with writers here in town who write the program. All Ears Theater produce it, but I get to direct it. So it's another avenue to express myself creatively. And so I think that there's a lot of different things happening in the Kalamazoo area. One of the main things is that communication is the key. And so you have to be able to communicate, and you have to communicate in a variety of different ways now. I mean, you just don't have the cassette to just communicate through. You don't just have the radio, 1560, 95.5, the touch. You have social media, you have all different types of avenues to advertise, I think, and you have to utilize them all. So you have to put up posters, you have to put out flyers, you have to be on social media. If you have the opportunity to do mailings, you have to do mailings. So there's a plethora of ways to communicate to people. You just have to try to hit as many as you possibly can.
And also, I think when you say what's next, what I see is what's being next is young people like yourself, you know, stepping up and filling the shoes that we stepping out of, and you are stepping into them and keeping some of the things that we've already laid the foundation for you guys are building upon that. The Black Arts and Culture Center is a good example of that. When Sid and I left, it hasn't missed a beat, and we've seen the improvement. You know what I'm saying? You know, so these was young people that stepped up to the plate and did what they needed was necessary and kept what was there intact and build upon it in a positive way. You know, so and I think that's what's have to happen for us in terms of things in our community. And like Sid said, we have to expand the horizon, so to speak. We can't just limit ourselves to the African American community, because there is so much here in Kalamazoo that can be utilized if we took advantage of it, you know. And it's good to see people like yourself that's providing these type of shows that's not only entertaining, but they're informative. Because in a lot of areas, it's not so much the fact that we are not smart, is that we're not aware. So making people aware of things like you're trying to do is a key as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. How can someone find your next play or your next show? You know, what do you all have that's going on in the community that we can be, you know, looking forward to seeing or hearing or watching?
Well, my next definite thing in terms of all ears theater, that will come up in the spring of 2019. Did a show here, or 2 shows. I acted in one and I directed one in the spring of 2018. So the next specific thing is 2019. Buddy and I have been tossing around an idea of doing something, and so as soon as we're about to do that, believe me, everyone will know it. So we don't have a date or anything planned, but we've been working on some things and trying to put some things in motion, and I'm sure it's going to happen within the next 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
And with me, I'm glad you asked, because I do have something that's coming up in September. It's a dramatic reading. It's called We Shall Not Remain Silent Any Longer. And it's a combination of things that I've had a lot of writers, playwrights, songwriters make contribution to it. And I want to say the names, and I hope I don't leave out everybody, so I'm trying to go down this. Ed Genesis,
okay.
One of the contributors. Tanisha Pyron.
Tanisha
Pyron is one of the contributors. Kevin Lavender Jr., Dwayne Powell, Tasleen Jamila, Karika Parker, William Hatcher from Battle Creek. I had James Smith from Battle Creek, Dr. John L. Jackson, and let me see, Sammy Sue Russell is another one, and I hope I didn't leave out somebody. Oh, Mona Lisa Watson.
Oh.
You know, so all of these people made contribution, and what it is, it's basically them talking about life for African Americans, as African Americans, but also as Americans, and they offer their thoughts and their opinions, but they also offer a call to action. So this is going to be coming up, and it will be featuring as readers Commissioner Stephanie Moore is one of our readers. I'm glad that this will be her first time on a stage production. Java Holiday, Tasleen Jamila, Minister Karika Parker, and Angela AA from The Touch. So this will be coming up in September, September the 22nd. It's going to be at my church, Allen Chapel Church. And so that's my next project until me and Sid get our thing together, which is going to be the big project. You know?
Okay.
Don't put the camera on me, if I get it back up.
Yeah, we got to get the camera back on stage, you know, and get his microphone, you know. But as Sid said, it is, there are things out there, and what you're doing is helping people be aware, because sometimes our young people, and I guess since we're talking about, I do have one thing that, since this is an avenue, I've started a thing where Ed Genesis wrote a poem, and it was called Junior High. But it was about this kid getting high and the effect of drugs in middle school, okay? I had the opportunity to spend a day up at Hillside Middle School. I want to thank the staff and the principal and everybody up there. But I talked with the kids and everything. So I decided I was going to write a play about this. But then I realized, like, it's been 452 years since I've been in middle school. They were still calling it junior high. So what I'm doing is I'm running a contest for high school and middle school students to write an essay telling me why they should be my playwriting partner. They will help me write this play. They will own the copyright. They will be at the rehearsal. They'll do everything that a playwright does. So it's open to any high school, middle school and high school student in the state of Michigan. So, you know, so that's an opportunity for them, you know, to do.
And so how do they contact you in order to
do
that?
They can contact me simply by emailing me, because I know a lot of them like to email, or text. I do text. I'm a little slow, but I text. At Buddy Hannah, BUDDYHANNAH, the number 10 at gmail.com. Or they can give me a call at 269-599-4196. The deadline was August the 31st, but it's going to be extended until September the 31st. So this is an opportunity for some young person to learn something about stage production, how to put the play, and playwriting, you know, because I'm going to bring in people that I know, like Sid and everything, to talk with them and help them. And it's a good project, I hope.
It sounds like it.
And before we end, I must say that we actually also have to give credit to our wives and our kids. We're both married and have been married all this time while we're doing this stuff. My wife, Arlena Ellis, my son, Sidney Lee Ellis, and Quincy Allen Ellis all have been very supportive throughout this journey. Of course, they didn't always like every time I was busy, but you know, and at the same time, you know, during all this time, you have to give them time too. So you have to stop, smell the roses with them, have fun with them, hang out with them, and that kind of thing. But definitely the support from our wives has been greatly appreciated.
Exactly, because you know we've gone a long time. My wife, Frida Hannah, I was gone a lot. Kind of belonged to the community. So as Sid said, that support has to be there.
One of the things that and I'm glad that y'all brought up, you were talking about the Fatherhood Initiative, you know, and Ed Genesis, who is supposed to have been here, we miss you, Ed. Next time. You know, being fathers and being husbands, you know, and thank you for speaking on that, but can you talk a little bit even more on the fatherhood and the Fatherhood Initiative before we get ready to wrap it all up and say our final goodbyes?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily for me and Buddy that we've been involved in what would be considered the Fatherhood Initiative. Yet, as fathers, these young men who are pushing the Fatherhood Initiative and doing specific things, like Kevin Lavender, who has a program for fathers, and there was a program for fathers at under the county, I believe, that some young men were involved in. But as mature men, you know, our examples would be that being a father is work. You know, it's not just it's not a casual hobby. You know, it takes work. It takes working with your wife. It takes being consistent with your kids. Not necessarily being perfect, but being there and being supportive to your kids.
And as I said, you know, it's good to see what Kevin Lavender Jr. has started. I personally know him, and I've seen what he's done with his two young daughters. You know what I'm saying? And to see these young men step up and begin to make this focus, you know, because I think explaining to young men that there's a difference between being a daddy and a father. You know what I'm saying? They're showing that father goes way beyond being a daddy, you know. So it's good to see these young men stepping up and making that effort to be that positive role model. And I use the word positive because a lot of times we're talking about having a male presence in the house. That's good if it's a positive male presence. You know, because you can have a man in the house and it still ain't no good. But to see these young men, Kevin Lavender Jr., Eric Cunningham, Ed Genesis, just to name a few, to see them step up and put this organization together that has a focus on this and bring in other young men, it's a wonderful thing. And like Sid said, being mature people, my kids are all grown, so, but fatherhood never stops, you know, but still my kids are grown. But to see this happening, I have to take my hat off to these young men. I'm proud of what they're doing.
I think that it's important because, you know, with all of the positive things that are going on in the community, to making sure that it's a family, you know, that we are family, you know, and it takes a village. So, you know, cousins, uncles, aunts, you know, everybody supporting our youth and supporting the next generation to have the strength and the leadership to bring up our next group of young people, myself and my child and children that are younger than her, so that we have a platform and that we keep growing and we keep evolving. And so definitely want to make sure that we give some acknowledgement to those who are doing right.
Great.
Those opportunities that are available within the Black arts and the Black community as well as outside, so that we are not limiting ourselves, but putting ourselves and sprinkling ourselves out amongst all areas of the community.
Yep, and thank you for this opportunity to do that.
Exactly.
And I thank you all for being here. Are there any last shout outs, thank yous, hellos, goodbyes that you would like to say before we end?
Well, I did give a shout out to my wife and my 2 boys, and so I'd just like to continue to say hello to them. My mommy is in the Warren area, which is right outside Detroit, so she probably won't see this, but unless you put it on YouTube or social media or something like that, hey, mommy.
And I guess I'll just like to say thank you to everybody who have supported me over the years. You know, I came to Kalamazoo, I didn't have any family here, but I've been here well over 50-something years, you know, and everybody has become family. So I just want to send a shout out to everybody who have had any type of input into my life and the positive things that I've been able to do, you know. And send a shout out to Sid, just like old Sid, he all right.
And thank you both so much for coming and being a guest. And we must do this again, you know, follow up with you once you have your next set of projects and start and complete and acknowledge them and let us know and keep me informed so that I can give a shout out to the community. I know you all are going to take care of every avenue of social media, but I still would love to be able to let people know that we can come and see your performances. And so until then, and thank you to the Public Media Network, to my brother, to Bill, to the staff here, to my family for their love and support. I know I'm always away from them as well, so thank you, so that my daughter can also know it's not only, you know, me that's always gone, but it just kind of goes with the territory.
Goes with the territory.
It goes with the territory.
So, and to all of you all who are watching, may you be blessed, and I hope that you stay tuned and watch us again.